Greetings and welcome once again to STL Soccer Talk, the video edition here at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and stltoday.com. I'm Tom Timmerman, and this, by process of elimination, is Carter Chapley. And Carter, once again, 0 for Chicago. City goes north, and it's not going well right now. These are tough times.
It's as disappointing of results during, I guess you could call it, pseudo-rivalry week for St. Louis City SC, going to Chicago twice and failing to secure anything really at all. You don't get to move on to the U.S. Open Cup, which we talked about last week, and you drop 3 points to an Eastern Conference rival. So I guess it's not the worst thing you could do, but it's definitely not what they wanted, especially because it continues, I guess, a trend of sorts in not being able to score any goals.
I don't think it's a trend of sorts. I think it's a trend.
Trend, outright. It's a trend.
There's no modifiers needed on this. It is a trend. Now, one thing to say about City is that when they've been losing, and they've been doing that frequently lately, 0-3-1 against MLS opponents in their last 4 games, plus one game that's in limbo, is the games have been close.
Yes.
They've been 1-goal games. They haven't scored a lot. Obviously, Klaus is out. Obviously, that's an issue. As we record this, we don't know what Klaus's status is for the week. Practice is closed on Tuesday this week, so we won't know until Wednesday. So they need to score goals. Klaus, obviously, a big thing. Berkey saying after the game to me on Saturday, something's missing. Maybe it's Klaus. The offense was having a little more trouble before Klaus got hurt, but I think Klaus being out has just made it worse. And you add in Rasmus Alm being out, they need to get something to turn it around, and they haven't been able to do that.
It's been a disappointing outcome, if only because it's exposed City SC to the fact that without Klaus, they really have trouble. They can't generate the offense that was so prolific at the beginning of the year, which, credit to Mr. Klaus, I mean, it's going to put a little bit more money in his pockets at the end of whatever his deal ends up looking like, if that's the case. But the point being is that for a team so process-driven, it's very disappointing to see them so reliant on one player. And you know what? Like, if he comes back this week and everything goes back to normal, they score in 5 goals again, they're putting up big points, they're getting points, they're doing this, they're doing that, that's great. But it also shows a striking issue with the way the club is playing right now, and that some of those players who had the opportunity to step up to be offensive dynamos, substitutes, I don't know what you want to call it, and they didn't, that's a little disappointing.
A striking issue.
A striking issue.
When it comes to the striker position. It's going to be obviously Nico Gioacchini has not scored. He hasn't even gotten any shots off.
He's been very invisible.
He is. And Bradley Carnell, after the game on Saturday, very complimentary to the work, the runs that Gioacchini put in, but they're not producing anything. And ultimately, and I think Nico would agree on this, is that how do you judge the quality of a striker? Well, it's goals. And they're not coming. Now, they're not coming for anybody. You look in the last few games, and you've got Celio Pompeo and Miguel Perez, and those are your goals. So it's obviously not just Gioacchini, but between he and Pompeo and the guys who are playing up top, it's just not working. Though, and Carnell was saying this too, it's like, it starts further back, and if the gap between the back line and the front line is too big, then the outside backs can't get forward as easily to make the plays into the box. The team was very ineffective on crosses into the box on Saturday. I think like 8% of their crosses found a home. And Carnell's looking for chaos. He just said we got to get balls into dangerous situations, because that's what was working in those early games, was we had chaos, and there just has not been the chaos lately. So when you saw those bad passes in Austin or that led to easy goals, they're not getting in those situations anymore for anything like that to happen. And you can't obviously expect teams to do that all the time, but they are not getting the ball in that end of the field enough to make things happen.
It's so multifaceted, and the chaos point is a point well taken, because they're not creating it because they're the ones playing with the ball so often that high press can't take hold. It doesn't seem to be. They don't seem to be a pressing team anymore because they're not given the opportunity to press as often. But it's a confounding issue. But this week, it's officially rivalry week. The team with the most points in Missouri since April 1st is coming to City Park. Is there anything you can do to prepare us for this game before we send off?
Well, but they're not in Missouri.
They are not. They're not. They're in Kansas. That's my mistake.
You know, Sporting KC is on a roll. You know, for a while it used to be that you didn't want to play them when they didn't have a win because you don't want to be that first team that loses to them. So it was like, you know, they're going to be really pumped if they come into St. Louis 0 for whatever. But now they've won 2 in a row. You know, they beat Seattle in Seattle. They are healthy again. They are playing a way that is not going to get people fired. So Sporting KC has come around. And this is not the team, while they are still at the bottom of, or towards the bottom of the standings, this is a team that's a little better than that. So it's going to be a challenge, because right now I think everything is a challenge for City SC. You're not going to see well, maybe you do. Who knows? It's a soccer game. Anything can happen. I would have not have predicted a 5-1 game against Cincinnati. So who's to say that they can't beat Sporting KC 3-0? But recent evidence say it's going to be a close game with minimal goals scored.
Believe the evidence of your eyes, Tom.
Yes, I believe we do. So it's a big deal. It's a big week, and yeah, obviously, and the players are saying, you know, Kansas City is the rival. This is the one.
They recognize it.
And I think Sporting KC wants it too. Sporting KC has always wanted a rival, and so I think they're actually kind of playing this up as well. And people are kind of poking each other's bears, which is the state animal of Missouri, so it's proper poking.
The more you know.
It's on the flag. There's pictures of bears on the steel on the flag. Anyway, plenty more coverage of this game. We have a podcast which you could probably find online within the reasonable proximity to where you found this video. Plenty of coverage in the paper all week long. Columnist stories, all sorts of things leading up to the game on Saturday. So digital subscriptions, all sorts of subscriptions are available. The Semaphore edition coming out soon. Until next week, for Carter Chapley, I'm Tom Timmerman. Be seeing you.